One of our proudest marks is that we've got over 15,000 users and we spent $0 on marketing.
Impressive.
That is simply because we're building what people want. You listen to your community, you have your ears to the pulse, but I also have firsthand experience. I'm a nonprofit leader too, so I'm using these same tools alongside of my clients. There is not tools that are being built for nonprofits by nonprofits.
Hello, Kayla Life, the Kayla Life. Welcome to I Have an App Idea. I think you are the first person who reps Duval. You're not like from Duval. You are from Duval, but you're not from Duval.
Yeah.
But you're the first. And period. So happy to have you here. You have a wealth of knowledge to share, and I'm just really excited to have you on the platform. I guess starting with the fact that, you rep Duval, but I know you are a military brat.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious about how your experience as a military brat, growing up in a military family, shaped your worldview and your transition into your professional life and entrepreneurship.
We're already starting off with some really good questions because I absolutely love to talk about this.
Okay.
Because there is a connection between having these like multicultural experiences at a very young age and how this kind of shaped my view of technology. So I always tell people that my father is the one that really got me into hardcore tech. My grandma holds that title of like getting me Game Boys and giving me gaming systems and getting me my brain going there. My dad was a chief IT officer in the Navy, right? So he would come home with these motherboards and hard drives and all these different computers, and he'd break them down and he'd tell me these parts, and he was very into like cybersecurity before it was a thing, right? And so I learned all these concepts at a very young age, and I was the only person in my field or even just in my school that would go out and get Microsoft certifications. And like back when, I'm going to date myself here, when we did like Dreamweaver, like that was me. I was in the trenches with that, but they kind of moved my brain into what we now know is that I have ADHD and I hyperfixate on technology. And so where my dad was more on the hardware side, I'm more on the software side of like, we can create anything. Oh my God, and now we have AI and we can do all these different things. But I understand community in a different way when it comes to technology. Like I have a innate skill when it comes to tech. I can put my hand on any software and figure out how it works without anyone telling me. But there's a lot of like cultural differences when it comes to who puts their hands on technology, who's allowed to put their hands on technology, what does the tech do? And that is what I learned when I moved around, right? So I've lived all over the world. I've gone from, I was born in PG County, Maryland. So shout out to Howard Hospital. I was already HBC before I even knew. And then we moved from there to Duval for a short time. And then we moved to Tampa. And then we went overseas. I spent the first 3 years of my high school career overseas. And we jumped right back into Tampa after that. And now I'm in Atlanta. And now, of course, I've done a lot of traveling. I played basketball. So I was in Spain. I was in Germany. I was doing all these different things. But while other people were focused on, like, I don't know, doing regular teenage stuff, I was like, why they billboards got titties on it? You know? Why are they able to do that here and we don't have that back in America, right? So you just learn about like different cultures and what they view as acceptable and what they are allowed to do versus what we're not allowed to do. And that really does shape how I even build my tools today, is learning what cultures are able to do what and who's going to actually use this tool to be successful versus what we're kind of just pushing out there and saying, yeah, you're good, this is what you need, and not really learning what they actually need.
For sure. So I think, it sounds like definitively your worldview and how you traveled shape your career, but also you were a teacher, right? So how did you go from that to transitioning into teaching? How do you know that teaching was the right career for you at the time, right?
Yeah.
And then the leap from teaching to entrepreneurship.
Funny enough, I've always been in this space of like tech education. I just didn't at the time have the tools to put them all together. So I graduated from Spelman. I'm an alum of Spelman College, class 2015. But my final paper was about the effect of technology in the classroom and how that was going to affect social emotional learning, how kids were going to integrate. At that time, I was really studying like the absence of writing cursive and kids really moving into like typing and keyboarding.
You see how that's affecting us now.
Baby, don't get me started, okay? Because guess what my son will be learning how to do?
The kids were left behind.
The kids were left behind, right? And we should have we should really talk to George Bush about that initiative, right? However, looking at the way that kids process information and also how teachers teach the information has a direct effect on how kids utilize technology in the classroom. And so that the shift for me necessarily wasn't like I'm going to do education over technology. It's always been how can I merge it together to make it make sense. So in education, I knew at Spelman I never wanted to be a teacher. Somehow I fell into that because, calling, you just can't make those choices. But I've never held a job outside of education. Like I've always done something working with kids, never flipped a burger, never retail anything. It was me with children some kind of way. And then I figured out like at this point, social media was starting to rise and kids were interested in social media. And so were we at that time. We were like 20 or like in our teenager, like going into 20. So I wanted to figure out like how kids were navigating technology at that point. Now we're going from, the dangers and effects of just going to school and being a regular student to now we got online bullying, we got all this kind of cyber things happening. Now there's Snapchat, and now the messages are disappearing. Like it's like now who are we going to believe? So being able to be a teacher and jump right into the software with my students helped me to better understand how they were processing information. But also I worked with a heavy Caribbean population. So with Caribbean parents and grandparents especially, tech is the devil. Social media is the devil. Is the demon, right? Like we don't deal with those things. And so having to even counteract that with the families is like, okay, I get it. There are dangers, but there are also dangers without technology, right? And like trying to show them the connection and power of having knowledge. And that's where it really got really deep for me. It's like, it's not about anything else, but having the access to know, right? They fear it because they don't have the knowledge. No one's sitting down and telling them this is what it does and this is what your children are doing, right? They just see this new piece of software, right? And they got this Terminator level fear of what it's going to do. So I spent a lot of time like really diving into communities and figuring out how I can best communicate with them so that they were able to use technology in a way that impacted their families.
Do you feel like iPads in the classroom is like a big catch-22? Do you feel conflicted about it?
I'm so conflicted about it because there's a right way to use tech in the classroom and there's a wrong way. The issue is that we have all these fancy tools. There's a lot of ed tech companies coming around, a lot of platforms. We saw during the pandemic, all these corporations like, yeah, let's help out education. Let's give them Chromebooks. Let's give them this. Let's give them that. But they did not give the support. So they did not send individuals to say, this is how you stay safe online. This is what digital safety looks like. Here's the tool that I want you to use, and here's how you use it. Here's how you integrate it, right? So what we're having is, and I speak about this a lot, about us, our generation being digital immigrants, right? We grew up alongside technology. We understood what it meant to get your first at-home computers, the first new thing out. Now we're typing, we got all these different games. We grew up alongside of it. But these children are digital natives. They won't know a world without AI. They won't know a world that doesn't exist with technology. So they're able to grab a phone, like my 2-year-old's able to grab my phone and go to exactly what he wants to. And my brain is going, how did you know how to even open my phone? How did you figure out that this is what my password is? He's getting at it lightning fast because that's what he's born into. So you're giving these tools to these students in the classroom and you're saying, hey, go do your lesson. And what a kid's going to do is like, yeah, they don't know what they're doing. I'm about to go play a game.
Period.
To go do something else. There's not enough guardrails. It's not enough teacher protection. It's not enough safety. So when these things happen, because you're not giving that extra human support to say, yes, here's the tool and here's the human's going to show you how to use it, it's just failing our students at this point. So I'm on this mission to go into the classrooms and go into these organizations and show the correct way to use these tools. There's a right way to implement technology, and it does not look like you shoving it in someone's face halfway through the semester, right? Like whatever tools you're going to use in the school, you have to plan that before the school year starts. You got to train your teachers before the school year starts. So when it comes time for the students to join, now you've got this open conversation. Teachers feel more equipped to even answer conversations with families about what it does and how it works, right? You can have those family sessions where we're talking about the software and really getting into it. But it's not working right now. And I feel like technology is speeding up so fast and we're being shoved things so fast that no one is really taking the time to sit down and say, let's slow this thing down for a second. Like, yes, the tech is moving fast, but we can move at our own pace to make this happen so that kids can learn effectively.
Does this sentiment, the fact that there are no safeguards or seemingly very little safeguards around the use of technology, in particular for children and in social spaces, was that the catalyst for RebrandLand?
Yeah. So, excuse me. I told this story a little bit earlier, actually. The nonprofit was actually the first business that I have, not RebrandLand. So the nonprofit itself was formed by me and my co-founder back in 2014 is when we really started this work. We worked at Carver High School here in Atlanta. We were college advisors. Our goal was to create a college-going culture within the school. I worked with 11th and 12th grade. She worked with 9th and 10th grade. But we realized at this point, the families didn't even have high-speed access to internet in their homes. So now we've got to create space for them to come inside to do things like FAFSA, to talk about budgeting, to talk about all these different things that students need to transition to the next level. Now we're met with another conversation of like, I don't want to give the government my information. I don't want to do this. Now kids are missing out on those dollars for FAFSA because there's a lack of education. There's a lack of knowledge. So we spent a lot of our time just like building trust first and then saying, now that you trust me, let's get the FAFSA done so your kid can go to school. Or let's do this, fill out this paperwork so he can go to a trade school or what have you. And that's where this idea sparked from because we were working with an organization that did not see what we saw. Right? It's very, and a lot with nonprofits, like it's very like this is the mission. Whatever you're doing outside the mission is not what we're doing. Their mission was not tech access. It was not to really dive into why people are not doing this. Their mission was simply create a college going culture, right? So we formed the nonprofit. We did a lot of workshops, just kind of doing it, not really knowing what the nonprofit space looked like. I think at this point we were just trying to do the right thing by people. Went to different schools, different elementary schools. We wound up splitting at one point. She went off to Boston, I went off to New York, and we shared our adventure there, and then we came back, and now we're both in Atlanta. Now we're in this space.
Always come back to Atlanta.
Atlanta has a way of reeling you right back in.
I said, 10 years ago, I lived in Atlanta, and I said, I am not coming back to that ghetto-ass city. And here I am. Back in Atlanta. Loving it. I love it. Atlanta, I love you.
There's no space like Atlanta. This is coming from someone that has traveled all around the world. I always come back here. Always I'm like, where do I want to be my home? This is it. So Atlanta definitely has a lot of love. It's not even just potential. It's like you feel safe here. You feel comfortable here. You can go downstairs and meet your neighbor. You can go around the corner and talk to someone. There's just a lot of community here in Atlanta that I think that many people that are transient are also getting, which is why they keep coming here. It just feels like home.
Absolutely. I think Atlanta has this baseline level of Blackness that I think we don't have to explain or justify. We don't have to think about our Blackness from day to day. We can just exist and thrive in our creative gifts. And I think that is something that people sometimes take for granted here, right? Until you move away and then you're like, oh, like I have to think about the way I show up, the way I present, the way I exist, the way other people see me in the world. And Atlanta allows you to rest in that. So shout out to Atlanta for being its lemon pepper greatness that it is. Okay, so we talked about how teaching impacted things, your conflict about technology. How did you transition from the nonprofit and then realizing, hey, I actually need to service nonprofits and be the catalyst for helping nonprofits actually get integrated with technology and, get the tools and resources they need to grow and scale?
Yeah, as I said before, I've worked with no one else, but I have not worked in any other field but education. And once you start to learn the different types of business models, I worked with no one else but nonprofits. I was YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, Jack and Jill, your local mom and pops. That's where I existed. But the issue was that I always thought in the realm of branding, because that gives you access, it gives you visibility, that brings in more dollars. But the tools are what actually helps you to scale and move forward. At that point we still do. We got Salesforce. They give it to nonprofits for free, but it sucks. It absolutely sucks. And you give the software to the nonprofit for free, but it's not configured to the nonprofit. You don't have the nonprofit's not going to know what to do. So they ultimately have to spend money on a consultant such as myself to come in and configure it. But then we start to notice that nonprofits don't even have the language to say what they need because they don't know, right? It's one of the most underserved markets for the industry that serves the most people, which is so interesting to me. So I said, okay, instead of us, at this point, I'm wasting a lot of time, right? Like I'm building all these different things. I'm using Salesforce. I'm using all these different tools. I'm like, this is not really servicing the nonprofit. How can I build something that actually works? And I started to do a lot of research on the people that are building these tools. Never served a nonprofit a day in their life. Absolutely. I am of the belief that Salesforce gave the Salesforce for nonprofits as like, here, stop asking us for stuff.
And I tell people all the time that, like, you know, the people who are most in proximity to the problem are best positioned to solve it.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think it makes absolute sense that you, as someone who have been immersed in a nonprofit and have been running it and working with, you know, educators and people in the nonprofit space, could see the problem clearly. And now that you have this technology foundation and understanding of products, both hardware and software, you were best poised and positioned to service these nonprofits.
Absolutely. I spend a lot of my time trying to figure out like what's going to not waste my time, but also not waste nonprofit dollars, because that is the main thing, right? We don't have enough money to run around. And so when you're hiring someone such as myself that actually cares about the community, there's not many tech consultants that can speak in language that an everyday person can understand. And I knew that was my strong suit. So I'm spending a lot of time like going in, fixing software. It's breaking because they don't know what they actually need. And now I've got to go back and fix it. And now we're getting sob stories about I don't have enough money to pay you. I'm like, we have to come up with a solution here. And so that's where the tech company came into play. Like, you know what? I actually do know how to build tools. I actually do know code. Let me go in and use my own expertise to build something that nonprofits actually need and want. So I think one of our proudest marks is that we've got over 15,000 users and we spent $0 on marketing.
Impressive.
That is simply because we're building what people want.
Okay. I was about to say, you're going to have to walk us through how you did that. But it sounds like you just started with product market fit.
That's it. Like, you listen to your community, you have your ears to the pulse, but I also have firsthand experience. I'm a nonprofit leader too. So I'm using these same tools alongside of my clients. And I'm like, these tools are not working for me. So I know they're not working for you. On top of that, I'm a mom, right? So I had my son 2 years ago. My time is now actually very limited, and I cannot keep consulting the way that I used to. I can't keep having one-on-ones the way that I used to for hour-long conversations and then have to build afterwards. So that's where the idea of like, I wonder what it would look like to jump into software and take my thought knowledge and the years of experience and data that we have from these past nonprofits and put it into an AI. What would we do then? And that's how Krystal was born.
Okay. So Krystal wasn't your first app. So I want us to talk about Krystal and some of your more recent products.
Yeah.
But what was the first app you built and rebrand under the RebrandLand umbrella?
Yeah. Okay. I've got to jump back because we built a lot of things. I think the very first thing that I built, just kind of testing out some of these tools that were out here, and this is back when, Adalo was popping, when the first low-code tool. We built like a membership portal for people to come in. We had this idea that a lot of people wanted to jump into entrepreneurship but didn't know how. So before we had AIs and learning language models, we had a human being that pulled up all this information on like, if you wanted to become a gamer, if you wanted to become anything, she figured out what the steps were to do so, even down to how you register yourself as a business. We put this in a directory, made it an app in itself and a membership portal so people can go in and just find what they wanted. Now we have AI, right? So the idea is expanding. Like, we don't have to do all this manual labor. Shout out to my intern, Deshauna, wherever you are. I love you because you did a lot of work back then. But now we have AI. So it's like, how can we take that data, put it into an AI? So we simply took all those tables and Excel spreadsheets and uploaded it straight into Krystal. And now she retains that information. And I think that is what makes Krystal so defensible as a product. And I think I'll talk about a little bit more about how we got this viral kind of growth of ours. And it's because, people are using ChatGPT or Claude or whatever to go and do their nonprofit work or fill out, grant applications because that's what people are telling you to do. And I'm not shaming that, right? You have to use the tools that are at your disposal. However, Krystal is a little bit different, a lot different, because she's trained on 500 different nonprofits and their funding success.
Okay, let's take a step back.
Ooh.
Let's take a step back. what is Krystal
Yeah.
exactly, right? What is Krystal, and how did you know that Krystal was the right tool to build?
Yeah. So Krystal actually is an AI software that does grant discovery. Is a 3 portal software that does learning, discovery, and management. So the first stage of Krystal actually comes in where she's powering a university and she's teaching nonprofits business education, how to create revenue, how to get in front of the right funders, how to be strategic about your mission, your vision, your values in this economy as it's ever changing without changing who you serve. Krystal retains all that information to the user, right? Specific to that nonprofit. And then once they graduate from the university, it's a 7-week program, they now move into the discover mode where Krystal now takes that same information and finds the grants and funders for you. So she's literally scraping the internet. It's not a database. We're not uploading any information. If it's out there, Krystal is scraping the internet to find it because it makes sense for you. Mm-hmm. So now she's pulling up all these different grants and opportunities for you to apply to that is specific to your nonprofit and their needs. Mm-hmm. At the management level, once you've kind of mastered, and we say this to nonprofits a lot, you wouldn't want to go out and get a full-fledged CRM just yet, especially if you're just starting, because it's a waste of money, right? Like, you don't have anything to put in it. You're just got software sitting there stale, right? And so once you've now acquired the grants, and now you need to manage that funding, we move into the management stage of the CRM, where she's not just now taking your information and finding you the right grants. You can do all of the CRM, but now she's also taking your programmatic information, your feedback from your participants, your feedback from your facilitators, any kind of input that you've given or data from your board members. She's taking your budget and making that all one cohesive thing so that you can now report on your grant the right way. So you can find more strategic funding because you've hit that stage where you're like, yeah, I don't need these baby grants anymore. Bring me the multi-million-dollar grants because I can manage it appropriately. Money. Absolutely. So Krystal's a 3-stage approach. She's actually named after my mom.
Aww.
Yeah, my mom's name is Krystal. She owned a nonprofit for about 10 years in Duval called It's a Girl Thing. She's had a whole bunch of success, but she wound up closing her doors after that 10th year because she felt like she didn't have the support. She couldn't find the funding. She did not have the board members to make move. And I'm like, wow, we've helped all these nonprofits, and now our local nonprofit is shutting down. So after conversations with her and like really listening to her pain points, we came up with Krystal.
Where did you get the insights? I mean, outside of just like lived experience, where did you get the insights to know that Krystal should be built in this way, mm-hmm. right? And that it should have that 3-step approach.
I do a lot of networking, and I think that leads into my second tool. But I do a lot of networking with everyone, up, down, across, just because everyone has a different experience when it comes to the nonprofit world. And one of the things that we're trying to kind of dispel here when it comes to people working in nonprofits is that nonprofits don't have any money. Mm-hmm. That's not true. You probably go to a nonprofit every day and just don't even realize they're a nonprofit. Mm-hmm. The YMCA is a nonprofit. There's NFL teams that are nonprofits. Your hospitals are nonprofits. All of these things have multi-million-dollar budgets. And so I'll spend some time sitting with the small, mid-sized nonprofits just getting started. And I'm also talking to the larger ones that have huge boards and huge budgets, because now we start to hear that the issue is the same. Just one has more people than the other, right? There is not tools that are being built for nonprofits by nonprofits. Mm-hmm. And so we use all of that informed language from our network, from our community, from people coming to us. We have a space on our site for nonprofits just to give us any kind of anything that they're going through, because we like to retain that information to see what's the next tool we're going to build. And if we have more of the same people saying the same things, it causes us to take a look and say, how can we build a new tool? So we just built a third tool. Very simple, right? But people were asking for email signatures. It's the simplest tool. It took me a week. Not even a week. That's a lie. It took me 2 days to build. It took me a week to test. But
not Kayla. You know the average person's not building in 2 days. But the Kayla Life, of course, it only takes her 2 days. So I want to go into like how it only takes you 2 days to build an app.
Yeah.
And we're going to dive deep into that. But I want you to walk us through how you went from 0 to 1 and then 1 to 15,000 as far as users for Krystal. Yeah. How did you go to market, and how was it and I don't want to say effortless, but it sounds like it was pretty effortless for you to acquire all of those users.
I think one of the things that I apply to our business that we also tell other people is like, you don't know the people that will use your tool unless you ask, right? Like, you don't know the network that you have, and they might just be waiting for you to pop out with something and you haven't said anything yet. So I really did dive into my network, all these different accelerators I've been a part of, all of my different friends or different organizations I work for. I just jumped back and I said, hey, I built this tool, will you test it for me? Very simple, right? And then once we got in those first set of users, we then created a referral program because people want to get paid for moving things around, right? So I said, hey, now that you've used the tool, you love it, who else do you think will love it? And we'll give you 20% of the sale.
Oh, no, that's right.
Easy, right? And it doesn't hurt us any, right? It just helps.
And nonprofits, no other nonprofits.
And nonprofits, no other nonprofits. I also strategically put myself on boards that serve other nonprofits, right? And so now that I'm sitting on these boards and I'm having these conversations, they're like, yeah, we serve 12,000 nonprofits. We'll give your tool out. And that's how easy it went for me. But I everyone has their own go-to-market strategy. that's just something that I've used to help me because I'm a people person. I like to talk to people and I have really strong relationships. So that was how I went about it. Now this year we're focusing on like, what would it look like to get ads going?
Well, another stream of revenue, right? And it sounds like you have recurring users, you have users who are visiting the platform daily. So why not use ads, right? You have that traffic, leverage it.
Yeah.
Now, you said it only took you 2 days. You was humble back. You was flexing on us. I was like, yeah, a week. 2 days. Really, like 3 hours to build Krystal. Or the new app, rather.
The new app, yeah.
The new app. You build apps really quickly.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that took years to kind of perfect.
Yeah.
But for the apps that you've built over the past few years, but Krystal included, did you build all of those apps yourself, or did you leverage other developers, outside talent to help you get those apps off the ground? All that's all sweat equity?
Bare hands.
Okay.
All me.
Okay, now are you do you have any aversion to using outside developers, or is it just like you want to be hands-on with the product?
Now, when my team watches this podcast episode, they're going to cuss me out, clean out, because they want me to take my hands.
You did it by yourself?
Yeah. They
you,
want
Kayla?
me to take my hands off the building so bad. And I actually, I'm getting to that point now that, we have the users, we've done the beta testing. The main reason I kept my hands on tools and I did it myself is because I have the knowledge and experience. One of the things that a lot of people struggle with is translating their idea out to other people, and that even as a creative, I still struggle with that. So I'm like, I can't waste anybody's time or my money. Let me just go in here and do it myself. And now that I see how it works, we have a CTO. I'm not the CTO. We have a CTO that fixes anything I break at this point. He takes in all of the tickets for things people or users that are saying they need support, something's happening. He handles all of that. So that was really the main reason I did it. Outside of the fact that like I could not take what was in my brain and make it make sense to my CTO for him to build. I just had to kind of do it myself.
Get it out of your head. Okay. Now, you are a top creator on Lovable. You done that honor, right? How did you get there, Kayla? Did you start just tinkering with it one day? And what is the most interesting thing you produced as a result of being on the Lovable platform?
Yeah, so I was named the top 1% of coders in the United States last year by Lovable. That's actually an interesting story. I went back to see, they said that my apps were ranging like 22K views a day. I was like, ooh, I wonder which app has the most views. And coincidentally, it's the one that I teach on. So there is an app that I created when I go out and I teach a workshop called Build Your First AI Tool. And instead of doing the traditional, let's do a PowerPoint, I built the slides on Lovable, right? And what I'm noticing, and Lovable, if you're watching this, I peep game, okay? They're starting to use the things that I was doing, right? Like, and Lovable's all the way in like Sweden or the UK or something like that. But now I'm starting to see them post about, oh my God, you can build slide decks inside of Lovable. Oh, you can do that. I'm like, yeah, Shawty was the first to do that.
Period.
And I'll tell you how this happens for me. I really do push
run Kayla a check, Lovable.
Come on, I'm right here. I really do push the boundaries of what AI can do in safe ways, right? Like, if I wanted to do it, I'm going to figure out if it can produce it, right? And so I use a combination of, now I used to use like ChatGPT in the beginning to do my brainstorming. I would use Claude to go and kind of fluff out everything. And then I would take that PRD from Claude and put that into Lovable and move around that way. What I noticed is that, and this is for anyone that's building, the more information you give, the better. right? But you have to chop up the information so that it makes sense to what the AI is doing, right? AIs are thinking on probability. It's like, this is what they think. They might want me to respond in this way, right? So if you break it up into sections, you can say, this is your phase 1, do this first, test out those features, and then move it in that direction. Because I understand processing, because I understand coding and development and infrastructure, I am able to prompt Lovable in a way to say, this is what I want to build, and this is where we should start and the end, right? But I also kind of ask Lovable, Lovable or Claude when I'm doing these back and forths, like, what do you think I should build? Right? Do you think I'm missing a feature, right? And now Lovable has this plan tool where you can actually just talk to and have this back and forth interaction. I personally would recommend you use Claude instead, right? Like just save your credits, jump over to your $20 subscription and use that one instead of using the one on Lovable, because it's using the same LLM model to even do the producing. But that's how I kind of speed up my process. I know what I want in my head. I will talk directly to an AI, whether that be Claude or now I'm getting into Gemini too. I love them. Shout out to Gemini. Y'all eat down with that. I would talk to Gemini and I'll create my product requirements document, which is a PRD if anyone doesn't know that language. And that really tells you and the next person and the AI what you want your app to look like, right? And you have to get very detailed into, this is what the branding looks like. These are the colors. These are the shapes I want to use. Like really, really visualize if you had your app in your hand, this is what it would do, right? And then you can, if you aren't familiar with like UI or UX, or you don't know about quality assurance or anything like that, ask the AI to do it for you, right? I'll ask Claude to go and check my GitHub to make sure there's no bugs in my code, because AIs will make mistakes, right? So absolutely. I will keep using the AIs to work with each other to make this app, and that's how I produce apps in 2 days.
Okay. Now, if I was someone who wanted to venture into vibe coding or the practice of creating apps in plain text language, right? But I don't have that background of coding. I don't have that foundational knowledge of technology. What would be the first step you would recommend for an everyday innovator who wants to venture into vibe coding?
You should buy the I Have an App Idea book.
Thank you, Kayla, girl.
That's what you should join, the App Accelerator, if that's what you're trying to do. There's so many different programs out here for non-technical founders to really dive into this. But I am going to give a shout out to the Amanda Span, because you've already created a solution for individuals that want to just kind of figure out how to get this done. And of course, you can attend a workshop with us or do whatever, but you might want some more hands-on approach right here. Read that book, and it's going to get you exactly where you need to be.
I appreciate that, Kayla. And that's a big part of the reason that I wrote it, because there are so many tools that are emerging on the market right now. This is the best time in history to go from idea to implementation, right? With ease and with very little money and very little investment, right? But it still does not matter if you have all the tools in the world if you don't have a foundational education of how to build a revenue-ready business, right? Yeah. You're essentially just tinkering, right? And building an expensive hobby. And we try not to do that, right? And so, that's what the book is all about. That's what this podcast is all about. It's just helping people navigate that space so they don't waste that time and they don't waste that money. Now, a lot of people are still intimidated by using AI. So I want kind of your thesis on how people should be approaching AI right now in their personal life and their professional life. And, for those who still haven't jumped into the Claudes, the Geminis, even the Chat GPTs, where should those people start? And what should they be looking forward to?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of fear mongering going on when it comes to AI, and it's not unwarranted. It's not like we shouldn't be scared of where technology is going, because it's not being implemented correctly, right? So you have that fear, but should you let that fear stop you from moving forward? No, because the people that are being laid off from their jobs are simply because, one, there's bad hiring going on. Two, there's other individuals that, are not wanting to put their hands on this tool, and they're going to be looking for, these major corporations are shifting to looking to people that know how to use these tools. I just saw a job post out yesterday that I applied for. Paying $19K. Kayla. Listen to me, $19K a month. I'm doing it. I don't give a damn about that.
What was it? What was it?
I ain't doing no look. Look, Mozilla has they have a job description out right now for an AI fellow that is literally using vibe coding. They're not even asking you to be able to code for real. They want you to be able to prototype using Replit, using Cursor, using Claude Code. They're going to pay you $19K for 3 months. That's $19K in March up until like May.
That's all you, big dog.
What? I'm a shoo-in for that. I do this in my sleep.
Period.
Right? But
I know somebody who used to be a Mozilla fellow, so I'm gonna hook it up, girl.
Come on.
I got you, friend.
But this is what I'm saying. This is where corporations are headed.
Yeah.
They're headed here. And you cannot keep this old-timey thinking of feeling like I don't need to touch AI. AI is destroying the planet. Guess what is also destroying the planet? Carbon gas.
Plastic.
Plastic. All sorts of things.
Coal.
So you're
gas.
What they call it, selective outrage. Like you're pretending to be mad right now because if you really cared about the planet, you'd be living off the earth. So I want you to stop. I also want people to realize that you're using AI every day.
Mm-hmm. Whether you like it or not.
Whether you like it or not. When you get on Netflix and Netflix shows you what you like, baby, that's AI. Okay? You get on YouTube suggests your favorite shows. That's AI. When you get on social media and you scroll, that's AI. All these, your Siri, your Alexa, all of those things are AI. You've been using it every day. I even said on my threads the other day, the first AI I remember was Dexter from Pokédex. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the first AI I remember because he was reading Ash's rights.
Yeah, you were dating yourself, friend, but you dating yourself, but that's okay.
But that is what it is, right? Like we have to stop thinking that if we don't put our hands on these tools, like we're gonna make the world a better place. No, you're not. You're really just gonna push yourself down further. And I would say jump into it now while you do have control over it. Up until the time that you don't, right? They haven't given us the Terminator, iRobot level fear that everyone's thinking that we're going into. We don't got that yet, right? And so because we don't, you have an opportunity to jump ahead of this thing and be one of the people that are really shaping what AI is doing today, because we need more builders that look like you and me. Mm-hmm. We need more people in our field that say, hey, I'm down here and this is how AI is impacting my community, which is why it was very important for me to be a community, what do they call me? A Google Community Data AI Fellow.
Okay.
It's a whole thing.
Flex on us again, Kayla.
It's a whole thing. But that's because there is this intersection of how AI can impact the community in positive ways, right? Mm-hmm. But it's also you being informed on how AI is affecting it in negative ways. Let me tell you something. These data center and water, they've been telling us we've been running out of water since we were children, okay? Mm-hmm. They've been saying you leave the water on while you brushing your teeth, you are killing the turtles and all that. We have been talking about this forever. Okay, the data centers are not new. We've had data centers before, so let's keep it there. With that being said, there is this section of people that if you don't put your hands on the tools, my fear is that when the tools do expand, you will truly be left behind. Mm-hmm. And now there's no opportunity for us to even catch you up because that basic level knowledge you refuse to learn right now.
Yeah, I also think that speaking to your point and double tapping on that about the fear mongering. AI can be very expensive to build, right? Especially in the hardware space. So a lot of like blue collar and jobs that I think where the fear exists the most, where people are like, oh, is this going to take my job? It's really hard to replicate your job. Yeah. And even if they were to replicate your job, they would likely have to do it with some piece of hardware, which would be incredibly expensive to build. People can't afford to replace you, right? And so you have to be mindful about that, but also just keep up with the times. I relate it to like, the coal industry dying, right? Like everything evolves, everything innovates. And you just don't want to be that person who's saying, well, we always did it this way. Yeah. Right? Back in my day, right? Well, yeah, back in your day, but we're not in your day anymore, right? Time is moving forward. Time is passing with or without you. So you can, adopt it. Yep. Or you could die.
I equate the fear of AI today to how accountants treated Excel when it came out. Accountants were in a frenzy when Microsoft Excel hit the streets, baby, because you're going to take our jobs. And now look at you. You look silly, don't you? You feel silly, don't you?
You're using Excel right now.
You're using Excel right now.
right
you
now.
need it because AI is a tool. It's a tool. It's not meant to replace anything unless you allow it to, right? And I like that you brought up that point about hardware because absolutely, AI is it's software. It's internal. In order for someone to replace you as a person, there has to be some kind of software app or hardware application that they're going to do, and it's extremely expensive to even think about doing. Which is why they'd rather keep the human beings that say, yeah, I know how to use ChatGPT. I know how to use Claude. Yeah, I can use it to speed up my time. Oh, I don't actually need to work this long because I have AI tools. Those are the people they're looking for now.
For sure. So you offer a number of services to help people adopt technology. Can you tell us a little bit about the things you offer? I mean, you sounds like you have, your classes that, Lovable is trying to like piggyback off of now. But it sounds like you have a suite of other tools and resources that people can utilize if they want to get a little bit more comfortable and integrated with technology and AI in particular.
Yeah, for sure. So I think it's important to note that I run an ecosystem, which it means that I really run a hybrid structure, for-profit, nonprofit. My tech company, RebrandLand.AI, builds all of the AI tools. So that's where Krystal lives. That's where Nomi lives. Resig is the email signature generator. That's where all those tools exist. Now, if you wanted to really get into how to use these tools or like bringing AI to your community or what that looks like, you would journey over to our nonprofit side, the Rebrand Institute of Tech Education, where we call it right, do it the right way. And so we have a couple of programs that we run throughout the year. We have Family AI Nights that we're launching this year. That's one Saturday out of every month where we're taking this multi-generational approach to AI education. Families learning alongside their children. Dinner is going to be served. Real dinner, y'all. I'm not talking about pizza. I would never do that to y'all. But come out, get some dinner, learn AI in a practical way. We have different themes every month to do that. We also have AI clinics that we're going to be launching in February of this year, which looks like if you are just a nonprofit or a small business owner, just a regular average day person, and you're like, I've got an idea. How can I do this? We have a theory here that anyone can innovate if you give them a chair and a chance, right? So we're going to sit you in that chair and we're going to say, what you got? And we're going to figure out how to get this idea out of your head into an application, into a software, or connect you to those people that can help you move that forward. Or if you're just saying like, hey, I'm a nonprofit and I need some assistance integrating technology in my organization, we have some operational issues or whatever, you can get that right there at the clinic. We also will have virtual sessions in the clinic. So for individuals that we're looking for speakers, if you have demos or you have hands-on presentations that you want to get out to the community, you can come and do that with us and we'll spread the word to our community. We have AI Ready Educators, which is a program that I've been running kind of in stealth for sure. But this year we're coming out with it. It's really focusing on teachers in the classroom and how they implement technology, period. It's not just AI, but it's this idea that like if you can implement technology in a safe and practical way, not only will you have more fun at your job, your kids will also have more fun in the classroom. So we're showing them that in practical ways. We're going around to charters in private schools, APS, shout me out if y'all need some help. What else do we have? So we have those. We have the pitch competitions that we do. So we also support entrepreneurs, showing them how to pitch and giving them support in that area, whether they need to expand their tools. We also give them access to our tools as a prize. We have a hackathon that we'll be doing with Grail.computer. Shout out to you guys. We'll be taking in high school seniors as teams to actually build software applications for their community. What else we got going? We have a gala that's going on at the end of the year. We have all these different ways that you can get involved. And I know I said a lot during this time, but if you want to know how to do this easily, go to rebrandtech.org and sign up for a membership. It's free. It's completely free unless you wanted to get the paid tools or the paid memberships. But that is how you will get access to all of our events and really dive into how you can expand your knowledge on tech education or just AI literacy, period. And then we also have the final piece. We have Keto Tech that we are launching in the new year, which is a K-4 AI literacy curriculum, teacher ready, made for the classroom. So Kip is our mascot for that. Kip is a tiny little blue robot. We consider him the Bluey of AI education, right? Like there is no other platform out right now, and especially right here in the United States, that's focusing on literacy at that age, right? A lot of AI literacy starts off at the middle school age, like they may start in like 7th grade, or they may even go into high school. But I have this theory that because these are digital natives, we should be teaching AI literacy at the same pace we're teaching math, reading, and science. It should start at these primary areas, these primary levels, because these students will not know a world without AI. AI. So we don't want them to turn on their Netflix or turn on their YouTube and think that it's magic happening. They have to understand that that is AI, which means that someone built it, which means that it can be manipulated, it can be biased, and there's predictions, right? And so that's what we're doing in that realm. We're kind of tackling this youth generation this year is our primary focus, but we have opportunities for everybody.
Awesome. Now, you mentioned Google a little earlier. What does that collaboration with Google look like?
Yeah, so Google, actually, we were part of their, Jesus, I'm going to say this wrong again. It's so long. And I told them when I talked to them, we have to have an acronym for this. It is the Google Community Data Center AI Fellow in partnership with the Watson Institute. Mm-hmm. They have data centers. They have a data center here in Austell, where they want the community to understand that they are there and what data centers actually do. And so they're really kind of combating this. Data centers are bad. We're taking all the water. We're doing all these different things. And they're partnering with people like myself. We have some other people like Denise from AI Innovision, Shayna, who is doing hers is We Create Tech, other organizations all across the United States and across the UK that they have selected to be a part of this fellowship. So with me and Google, we opened up the Community Innovation Center in Douglasville. They came out, they did the filming. We had a detailed conversation about the needs of the community and what it looks like, right? And through that, I was able to really help them to understand like who we are as a nonprofit and what we are attempting to do. And so they're supporting us in that work of like, how do we get AI education out there? How do we get more people into technology? They've given us access to Grow with Google scholarships, so we're able to give that out to our community, to people that need it to kind of just break into tech and do this a different way.
Awesome. Now I want to give the final question. What myth do you feel there exists about tech that you would like to debunk or retire? For everyday innovators, the people who you help every day, what existing myth do you hear all the time that you just want to debunk and you want to retire it today?
This idea that I'm too old or I'm too young. Like, there's no age limit to jumping into technology. It's willpower, right? And it's willpower, and it's finding a community of people that are willing to talk you through the problem. I think a lot of technical people at this point don't have people skills. They don't know how to communicate with the next person because they talk in binary, right? And so it's important to find that community of innovators that has that conversation and says, yeah, I'm going to break this down to you in a way that you can understand. I'm going to make sure I'm patient with you as you're learning these topics, because while it may be natural to me or innate for me, it's not innate for you, right? And I think that a lot of people take that mindset, I'm too young to get into this, I'm too old to get into this. I think I take that for any industry, right? It's just, what do you really want to do? And are you going to let it hold you back? So you're not too young. You're not too old. You're at the right time in the right space if you have the willpower to learn.
Love that. Kayla Life, I appreciate you being here. Tell people where they can find you. If they want more information on your resources, you already dropped RebrandLand Tech.
Yes. So you can, I'm going to give you a couple of different sites here. So you can find out more about me personally at thekaylalife.com. And that's life like live your life, not like Life Jennings. Okay. You can also go to rebrandtech.org if you want to find out more about our nonprofit and our workshops and membership. And if you're looking for access to our tools, you'll go to RebrandLand.net.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.